Everybody comfy? I figured this would be a good way to start the new year.
Sure.
Nothing very in-depth, nothing too fancy, but really, truly to have a Tech Tuesday, answer some questions for a lot of the viewers out there. Remember, if you've got a question on how to use something on your Corvette, if you're having a service issue with your Corvette, no matter what the generation, let us know. If we can help, I'd like to be able to do that. That's one of the services we like to provide on the channel. We have a lot of fun just sitting here talking Corvette with you guys. And don't forget, we're going to finish up today with a beautiful ride segment. Show off
every Tuesday.
Yeah, show off some cool cars. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
You're sitting next to my friend Jim from San Antonio's car, actually buying his second Corvette from us, and he wanted to get a picture with you. But unfortunately, he's going to be here Saturday, and I told Jim, I said, well, Chuck's not going to be here Saturday. And he goes, oh, Mr. Big Shot, the star of Tech Tuesday, not going to be here on a Saturday. Oh, forgive me. I'm only driving from San Antonio. Jim says hi.
Yeah. Sorry, Jim.
A couple of things for you guys. This one, I'm just going to start real quick, Chucky. More of just kind of a statement. It's always nice to share some feedback from folks. This really probably should have been in a viewer mail segment, but still worthy on Tech Tuesday because we've talked about tracking and that kind of stuff. This comes from Don and Kay. It says, Rick and Chuck, I just finished watching your Tech Tuesday and you mentioned Ron Fellows Driving School in Nevada. You know, when I got my 2016 Z06, I did the 2-day course. My wife Kay and I smiled the entire 2 days. Yeah. Unless you do it, it's hard to explain. I talked about it. How long did I talk about it with you?
Oh, yeah.
And then you finally went and you went, wow. Even though we had a condensed course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm hoping they do a Z06 class.
And I'm just going to hail again to the star of Tech Tuesday. Chuck's actually a pretty good driver. You really did. You did good out there on the track. You really did.
Not too bad.
Yeah, I was being a little nervous. Anyways, it's hard to explain. And if anyone does get the chance to do such a course, they need to. You know, I reached my limit in the car. And it was nowhere near the limit that was available in that car. The main thing I learned from the experience was, don't be stupid because you're in a car with that much power.
Yeah.
It really could kill you. Drive sensible and enjoy the car. That's kind of what I talked about when I did the Z06 drive experience at NCM. I'm in the car, I'm enjoying the car, and I was telling you guys, and you get some of those guys that they just get a little too... Here, respect the car.
And yourself.
Drive safe, don't drive beyond your abilities. Donna Kay goes on to say, Rick, it is important to enjoy each day as tomorrow is not given. This past summer, I got COVID and I came within 2 to 3 hours of dying, the doctor said. Because that's pretty damn scary.
Oh, yeah.
So looking forward to meeting you one day. Hopefully next year we can get my E-Ray. I trust that you have me on your speed dial. Keep up the Corvette videos, Rick. You may not realize it, but you are a special treasure in this industry. Don and Kay. Thank you. What a great way to start the show. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Good feedback. And again, I tell people just going back to the driving school, whether it's NCM or you're going to Ron Fellows in Nevada.
It's once in a lifetime.
It really is. And of course, I've already done it 5 times.
Well, still, your first time is once in a lifetime.
Well, and you'll never really experience anything like that in your own car. And I tell folks at delivery, take your ownership experience really, truly to another level. So do one of those courses especially before you do any of the stuff that I'm sharing with you guys. When I'm doing some autocrossing and I'm doing a little bit of speed racing, I wouldn't do any of that stuff had I not had that training. That's what gave me every bit of confidence in some of the stuff that I've learned, and I'm still learning, and stuff that we continue to share with you guys here on the channel.
Absolutely.
All right, you got a couple there, buddy?
Yeah, this one comes from Christopher. Says, I have a Tech Tuesday question for you. I purchased my car in another state, and California is requiring me to smog it. Even though it's a new build to California smog regulations, I can't get the O2 sensor to go into ready state. I've done the driving tricks like driving 55 for 5 minutes, etc. Still no go. Any suggestions? Drive it further. Get it hotter.
Yeah, we've had this a lot, and we do a lot of out-of-state business. California seems to be the only state that this is an issue. When you're bringing a car in and you know that you're going to smog it, drive it for about 45 minutes to an hour at 50, if you can in California, at 55 miles an hour or above to really truly get that hot. That's the thing. You need to get that hot. We actually did an interview with one of the Chevrolet Corvette engineers, and he talked about that very issue. So just get a little bit hotter for a little bit longer, and you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. This one I think is going to be right up your alley.
Okay.
You've seen all too many of these already. This comes from Coach Dan. How you doing, Coach? Rick, I got a question for Chuck. I've got a friend who's got a 22 C8 with only 5,000 miles on it. was driving it for over a week, stopped to get something to eat, got back into the car, went to go into reverse, and it would not go into reverse, but he was able to drive it home. And then it would go all of a sudden into second gear. It'd go into fourth gear, sixth gear, eighth gear. It was all over the place. It was shifting very rough. He took it to the dealership, and they had no idea what was wrong with it. Chuck, if you would, please.
Okay, well, once again, it probably has debris. What we found happening on these, first of all, there's an updated program for the TCM depending on what code it has. I'm sure if it's not shifting correctly, there's got to be codes within inside the transmission control module. So once you get that code out, you would go to SI, there's a new program for the transmission control module, and there's a lot of clean procedures for the different shifting problems of not going into this gear, but going into that gear. It's all done through the computer, so once again, these transmissions aren't just gears and fluid anymore. They're they're electronic.
There's a lot of computers on this car, more so I think than people realize, and you've had a lot come in. You went through a lot of these procedures. We referred to it in previous Tech Tuesdays, where you just like, it was frustrating for you because you're looking for that mechanical failure and it really was electronic.
Right.
And you had to follow the steps in the programming and then it fixed itself. So I'm sure it sounds pretty clear that's what's going on there. But
more than likely, yeah.
You need to know the code, go through and they've got to go through the processes. They can't shortcut. There's no way you can shortcut that to achieve the results that you need.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Because a lot of people all of a sudden, I just need a new transmission. So well, slow your roll, all right? Okay. Now, there's a couple of times you thought you needed a transmission.
Absolutely.
And they said, go through this, do this procedure, do this procedure, do this relearn, do this. And it's a process, and it works.
Yeah,
it works. So that's the day and age of the computer stuff. That's why when we talk about maintenance level on C8, you said it best. The DCT is your first line of defense.
Absolutely.
To protect that transmission. So we'll continue to remind you guys to do that close to your 2 years, close to your 7,500 miles, and then every 7,500 after that. It really is, unless you're doing aggressive driving like myself.
All right,
the floor is all yours.
This one comes from Tom. It says, I have a question regarding my 2017 Corvette 3LZ Z06. Question. Whenever I accelerate the car, it swerves all over the road. The local dealer indicates the vehicle needs a rear adjustment. Would greatly appreciate your thoughts. He talks about possible wear in the rear toe links, in the tie rod, rear tie rod ends, the get play.
That is a Z06. I mean, that is a characteristic of that car.
Yeah, depending on how hard you're accelerating. Yeah, that's kind of a characteristic. But yeah, I mean, to shake the rear end down and see if there's anything loose or worn out on the car would not be that hard of a deal. And then, yeah, if there is something loose or wore out, you need to replace that part. And then have the alignment checked on it. Yeah, it could just be something as simple as alignment out. So,
don't you have to have a special tool for the rear?
For the rear caster, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
Tech Tuesday continues.
This one comes from Brian. It says, I have a 2006 convertible base model with an LS2 engine. This is my first Corvette and looking to make the car a little more alive during acceleration. What does Chuck think of adding a throttle booster like a Red Light Bandit or Pedal Commander? From the reviews I've seen, they're favorable. Just curious about your thoughts. I don't deal a whole lot in the aftermarket world. I have seen some of my customers, not in the vet world, but in the Camaro world, that have these accelerator things on them. They seem to like them. I think, pretty sure it's just a plug and play. So, yeah, it shouldn't hurt anything. Okay. But it's entirely up to you.
A little more zip on that throttle.
Yeah, just a little more responsive.
Mine's a two-part question from Marcia and Ralph in Nevada. It looks like you have two fill plugs for the DCT transmission on a C8 Corvette, a yellow colored one at the top and a 17 millimeter on the right-hand side of the DCT filter. It seems that you can... Oh, boy, I hear something Yes, I hear something echoing right now.
Do you want it done right, or do you want it done right now?
It seems you can get to the one from the side by just removing the wheel and a socket extension. Would this be easier to get into that area of the DCT transmission rather than taking everything out of the trunk if you're going to put and add additional fluid to the transmission? And as Chuck just said, do you want it done right, or do you want it done right now? What are your thoughts on that? Well, we've seen it done. We've heard people do it.
I've heard of people doing it. They say you have to jack the left side of the car up to a 13-degree angle to get all the fluid to run to the right side of the car, and then try to get the 2 extra liters in that way. 13 degrees is a pretty good degree, so I don't do them that way. Yeah, I know that getting to the one in the top is kind of a pain because you got to take a lot of stuff apart. But
yeah, you really do.
That's GM recommendations, that's their instructions, and that's how we do it. So
it's not like it's impossible to do. It's just not the right thing to do.
Right.
In the words of Chris Rock, you can drive a car with your feet if you want to. Just doesn't make it a good idea.
Exactly.
Here's the other. Here's the other part of that question. There's a lot of debate whether you need an oil catch can on a dry sump engine. How many times did I come back here and I've had catch can questions? Again, more aftermarket stuff that we really don't do at the Chevrolet dealership. So he's got a question about that. He says, Paragon Performance has a video on that. What are your thoughts on a catch can? Well, it just so happens when I was in Bowling Green talking to Corey at Paragon, I asked him this very question about a catch can. All right, you guys, so while Corey and I are here at the NCM Motorsports Park driving, we're about to drive the Z06, and I can't wait. I saw some guys yesterday, and if you saw my teasers on Instagram, Facebook, that was genuine, man. That was impressive. I was pretty excited. But for Tech Tuesday, I get a lot of questions, and I'm just not familiar with it, and I know that you guys do it, you offer it, and you do have an opinion on oil catch cans. Tell me about that and what you think on that, if you could help educate myself and the audience.
Absolutely. So there's always been a lot of controversy about catch cans. Do you need it? Do you not need it? If it needed it, the manufacturer would do it. Back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
My first personal experience with the catch can was when I had my 5th gen Camaro 1LE.
Okay.
And from the factory, there's a little box that comes in the car from General Motors that says, put the catch can on your car for track use. I left it on at all times. I'm like, if I have to use it for track use, I drive pretty aggressively on a day-to-day basis. I'm just going to leave it on. It's not going to hurt anything, because if it would hurt it, they wouldn't tell you to put it on the track.
Right.
The basic sense of it, the dumbed-down version of what the catch can does, is it helps any oil bypass going past where it should and then collecting on the intake manifold. There's more technical terms on that, but that's a very simplistic way that I explain to customers.
Okay.
If the car needed it, the manufacturer would put on from the factory. It's not needed, but it doesn't hurt anything. Anytime I did my oil change, I always had oil in my catch can. We have it in both of our shop cars.
Okay.
Every time we run a track day, like we do here frequently at NCM, we have oil bypass sitting in there. So it's not a bad idea. It's personal preference. It's not going to void your warranty. It's not going to hurt anything.
That's good.
That's the best way I can put it. The other thing I get is, what's the difference? We sell Corsa, we sell Mitsubishi Moto, we sell Paragon. They're all going to do the same thing. The benefit about Paragon is A, the price. We make it in-house, and it's for coupe and convertible. The other ones are only for coupe.
Oh, that's good. You guys do a lot of research and designing your own products for the car. So I guess if anybody would ask me in the future for a catch can, it's, if what I'm hearing, if I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, it would really be for a guy that's doing more intense tracking. I mean, I do some tracking and I don't get to the level that a lot of you folks are. It's just a fun factor for me. I don't think that it would benefit me. I'm not doing any competition, low speed stuff. I don't need it. But I guess if you have it in those high speed intense sessions, and I know you guys do a lot of that.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. We have a lot of customers that do a lot of that. If you're an enthusiast with your car and you're pushing it to those limits and everything, it's not a bad idea. We do have a lot of day-to-day drivers that do it, and they've sent us plenty of photos just between an oil change that they have some oil sitting in there. So even from an oil change segment of 5,000, 7,500 miles, it does catch some. And it's not a bad idea. It's not going to run the oil out of your car or anything.
Is it more an efficiency thing for the motor by catching some of that oil?
It can help anything building up on the intake manifold.
Okay.
So that's the simple terms of it, and that's kind of the purpose of it. Tons of research out there, again, ton of controversy and everything. From my personal standpoint, based on the fact I own a 5th gen Camaro 1LE, and it comes factory with that car, I put it on my cars.
There you go. All right. I've had a stack of emails that I just have never addressed that on Tech Tuesday. So sorry about that, guys, but thank you, Corey, for getting us all straight. I appreciate that. Marcia and Ralph, you guys are big supporters of the channel. You have a car on order with us. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for the question on Tech Tuesday. Hopefully that helps you and others that are watching today.
All right. This comes from Jeff Smith from Florida. Merry Christmas to you and Chuck and our families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to everyone. Hope they were all good. Says, I have an unusual issue with my headlights. After driving for a while, they get moisture. It appears in the lower corners. There's nothing present when I initially start the drive, and it appears after I stop and sits. The headlight just has a haze for moisture, and the left looks like rain. It's a 2022 C8, has never been in the rain, actually only washed one time, and that was probably 6 months ago. Yes, it's a garage queen, but everybody I come home and it makes me smile. Could it be moisture from the manufacturing or a bad seal? I've read that the front bumper has to come off to replace them. Is that correct? Yes. And finally, will it be covered under the 3 years, 36,000 mile warranty? It will be. GM's put out a couple bulletins on this issue as far as whether it's actually a leak or just condensation. I mean, you say it looks like raindrops on the left side. That would almost indicate to me a leak. But being in Florida, next to the ocean, surrounded by the ocean, if it's not there currently present and you're not driving it in the rain, I don't know how it could be a leak.
Right.
So it seems to me like it's more like the atmospheric pressure and the condensation and the humidity of the environment you're in, because when you're driving, the daytime running lights are on. If you're driving at night, the headlights are on. That's a lot of heat. Then as it cools down, that appears, and then it goes away.
Yeah, Chevy talks about the atmosphere.
The atmospheric pressure.
Sure. So if you're getting like a fogging in there and that dissipates and goes away, that's just the natural characteristic of that headlight. But if you're getting the raindrops and water that's sustained and staying in there, then yeah, you probably need a new headlight, a whole new headlight assembly, which would be covered under warranty, as Chuck mentioned. But it's important too to make sure that's put in right and it's not torqued too much to the point where it's pushing on the bumper and then chipping the paint and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So it's really important. I'm pretty much done there, my friend. You got anything else?
Okay, this one comes from Chris.
Okay.
Says, hi Rick, my name is Chris from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm on the list here for the Z06, and I'm realistically in the fact that there will probably be 6 or 7 years before I see one. If they're still making them, Yeah, I was just going to say 6 to 7 years if they're still making it, so he knows, right. So I continue to daydream and build mine on the U.S. Chevy website.
Oh yeah, the configurator thing.
Right. It's probably a stupid question, but when I search for the inventory, about the 35 Z06s pop up and show in transit or on lot. I can only assume that these are all sold cars. Why is Chevrolet putting these up for viewing to show people are ordering them? Just curious. Thanks, Rick. P.S. Watch your tube all the time. Chris from Canada.
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and I'm sure Chevrolet's in the same situation that we are as a dealership. When cars are produced, they go into their system of produced cars, which then populate into inventory. You guys can do locates on the Chevrolet website. Just because you see a car on the website doesn't mean, as he referenced, doesn't mean that it's necessarily available. We get cars, all of our cars are ordered and they're sold before they get here. As it gets assigned and invoiced to the dealership, it comes to our website, and so we can actually do the contracts and paperwork. We have to put it in our inventory system and assign it a stock number so that it populates out on the website. Until that paperwork is done, it's on the site, and then it comes off after you finish the deal and show that it's sold. So it's really hard. There's no disparity from those VINs seeing that one's sold and one's for stock and this one's sold and there's a back out. It doesn't know all that. It just knows we made a car, there's a car that's made, here it is. Same thing, we got a car that's produced for the dealership, it's inventoried, it's assigned a stock number. So it's frustrating for the consumer because they assume that, oh, hey, look at this car's available. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And that's with everything. It's not just Corvette, Suburbans, Tahoes, anything. And we've had that issue back over a year ago when we didn't have a Tahoe or a Suburban in inventory, and as we would get one or two, then the phones would just explode, and it was already pre-sold before it got here because of the environment that all automobile inventory dealers were in at that time. It was just crazy.
It's just the process of getting the vehicle through the whole process of being built, inventoried, PDI'd, and delivered.
I know, and somebody out there is going to say, well, if they program the computer to pick this up, then you should be able to program it. I understand what you're saying. I'm not a computer programmer. I'm just telling you as I see it, face value, so it has a little meaning to you, so it's not as frustrating when you go out there to see that it's available. And it's always good to call to make sure that a car is in stock and it's available. It's actually there. Sometimes cars will show in inventory and they're not even physically here yet.
Oh, absolutely.
Waiting through the shipping process and all that kind of stuff. So we know all too well of those scenarios. So a good way to get started, again, to have a Tech Tuesday, to have a conversation, answer some questions, create some scenarios and some stories that will hopefully help the people that we talk to here in the emails, and hopefully it helps you guys that are watching the channel as well that are Corvette enthusiasts or would-be Corvette owners. Thank you so much for the support, you guys. Hope to be At least 2 a month. That's our goal. He does get busy. Right now we got a little bit of a lull.
Right.
So it was a good way to get started and at least do a Tech Tuesday and let you guys know that we enjoy this as much as you do. And we thank you so much for that. The email address is up on the screen. If you have a question, you have a concern, any way we can help, and just, from our experiences, shed some light in maybe a little more realistic manner, not from the owner's manual, the way that they word it. Sometimes that verbiage is very difficult to understand.
Sure.
We want to give it to you real, and we want to have fun doing it. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate that. Don't go yet. Hey, this is a car channel. We're going to show them off. We got some good ones for you this week, as we always do. These are your beautiful rides.
Too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one, and I can't wait to see you hindsight is fleeting when your heart's bleeding and all you can see is red, till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road, thought I'd be better on my own. Sometimes what's right is wrong instead, 'cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one, and I can't wait to see you again. Oh, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, 'cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one, and I can't